Hello and welcome to the Inbetween Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm joined by Tony's RT. Tony, this week we
Hello.
have the Steaming Pile Awards and Squirrel Girl. We're here to talk about both of these things.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about
Things to
this
say
week?
about the Steam Awards.
You have strong opinions.
I think there are things missing, and I have strong opinions, and I have predictions.
You haven't looked
we've-
at my nominations yet, have you? So
No, I don't know what you've selected.
You can guess.
I will guess at the time. Yeah. I will say before we get into the topic later on the show, I would just say I feel like I was trying to fit the wrong coloured shapes into the right holes, sort of thing. Because I just wish there's a more. I don't know. I'll get into that later.
This year I skipped a category, and I was saying to you, look, if you don't have a nomination, you can just skip it. You don't have to nominate stuff.
But I've got other issues on top of that. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it later.
So just before we get into it, I just want to point out there is the Jingle Jam bundle going on at the moment.
Yes.
It's £35, but it does go to charity, and you get a bunch of games. It's once a year to support. I think is it multiple charities?
I think it's either multiple charities if you don't choose anything, or you can push it towards them. I think there's 6 or 7 or something like charities.
I just gave them £35 and said, give this to some charity. I'm not that bothered.
Yeah. I think it even distributes if you don't select something.
Yeah. But this year, because usually it's 100 tiny little games, but this year they actually went, let's pick, make it smaller but have bigger games in it, sort of thing. We have Shadows of Doubt and Another Crab's Treasure and Citizen Sleeper and stuff like that, bigger games, sort of thing, which I liked. I know some people wanted more games, but they did say this year was a lot harder to get people to essentially give away their game for free to charity because so many people are getting laid off. And I know I was reading the news before we started, and I've made the docket really slim, and all the news is just this company's been laid off, this company's been laid off, this company's been laid off, and I'm like, I'm just not interested to talk about it because it fucking sucks, but I don't have anything to say about it.
Depressing.
Yeah. Let's try and find the positive stuff. The games I've been playing this week, Tony. I've been playing Metaphor, ReFantasio. I'm 40 hours in. So I think that puts me probably somewhere around halfway based on my Persona knowledge. That's probably about somewhere around halfway through the game. Still really enjoying Metaphor. Been getting really into it. Oh, I also found the Metaphor in Metaphor. There's this whole side quest where you have to find a toothbrush for a guy who's got he's got bad teeth, and then he sees the metaphor. He sees the metaphor.
He sees. Okay. Is it a massive spoiler to the whole game?
No, this this is just a random side. He's basically he's oh, I guess I have to brush my teeth, or those giant tooth monsters will come and get me. Of course, they're not real, and I'm like, no, teeth monsters are real. And he's like, I see, a metaphor. And I'm like, no, there's actual teeth monsters. You fight them in the game. And he's like, you're pulling my leg. You have to. I think the item is called the toothbrush of hygiene, and you go and buy it and you give it. It's just this is real JRPG Persona stuff where it's just a random side quest that doesn't mean anything. But I'll say now, some of the main story stuff in Metaphor, I would say, is on Witcher 3 side quest here, which is insanely high praise from me. There's been some really good stuff so far. Excited to see more of it, because it's a lot darker. People die in this game, and there's morally dubious stuff that happens in this game. It is, if Persona is a game about yay, Japan is great, everyone is so happy and amazing. Metaphor's racism, politics, religion. This world is shit, sort of thing. Metaphor is definitely very different, but it's still very much an Atlas game.
It's a very different kind of JRPG.
Very different federation to the one,
Yeah.
I've also been playing.
You could say.
I've been playing Descenders. I don't know if we ever made a video on Descenders. I might need because I've been playing a bunch of multiplayer games recently.
No,
because I did play this on like a free weekend before, but I've got back into playing it again with some friends, and yeah, I'm really enjoying Descenders again. Big fan of cycling in general, and Descenders gives you this really awesome sense of momentum and speed with mountain biking. That is really, really fun, and it's also got multiplayer, so you can queue up your friends and you go into lobbies. So the main game mode is it's set up like a roguelite. So you basically go through these generated courses, and then they'll have tricks you can perform to get extra lives, and then if you fall off your bike, then you lose a life, and then you basically keep going, and the tracks get harder, and you can play it like that. The mode I like is you can basically just pick a map and then you can just go and explore it. And there's like these big maps. Like there's one called... I'm trying to remember what it was called. Descenders maps. There's one that's a city that I like quite a lot.
The city one is. I've not seen that one.
Yeah. So it's basically like
mountain and forests.
When it comes to biking, I'm not the biggest... New Lexico is what it's called. That's one of my favorites that I've played so far. It's set up like a lot of mountain biking stuff, but there's also there is some city stuff and some road stuff, and I much prefer like road stuff personally because I'm a road cyclist. Okay. I like just going fast. What the fuck is that noise? Where is that coming from? Descenders is playing a trailer right now. Oh shit!
From where?
I don't know. I think it just started auto playing the trailer somehow when I went across. But I don't have a Monster Cat license, so I'm guessing I can't play that. But yeah, and also Tony, I'm probably going to have to do a tangent around this because I made a bunch of footage, but you can download, this has like, I think it's mod.io support, so you can download modded maps, and then you just load into that modded map, and then anyone else in the world playing on that modded map will be in that map with you. So I was playing like Rainbow Road and Hot Wheels with my friends and stuff like that.
I did see you play the Rainbow Road
as like bike
you
courses.
Definitely can fall off.
Yeah, you can. I've tested it. This is a game me and you have been playing, Uno, which I was so surprised about. You purchased and played Uno.
I was checking on Steam. I was like, it's on sale. I'll just get a full bundle edition sort of thing for like £13.
Because I have like 30, 40 hours in Uno. I've played this a lot. I wanted to play Uno like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh god, because I just reinstalled Windows. I'm like, I have to install Ubisoft Connect on my computer. Were you having issues? You weren't having issues with Ubisoft Connect. I think
I was complaining that the last time I tried to play Anno I had issues, but we were one friend down, which meant before of us, there was only 3 of us. Because they could not connect. But yeah, sometimes you just cannot connect to Ubisoft, even like you're using like exactly the same login. Like it just refuses to take it. It's just awful sometimes.
But I think it was like
it's the awful name.
Just playing some Uno and having it like automated like this over the internet is just fun. Yeah, I just love Uno, honestly.
I think Uno is my favorite simple game. Like you just like
game.
It's that I just accept the bullshit and it's hilarious.
It's fun, and then you get like a game with like an AI or two, and I don't know if you experienced this where the game just goes on for like an hour, and I'm just praying for the game to end, and I'm just
when you left last, it was just 2 of us left. We had like a 45-minute game sort of thing.
But literally, I was playing a game with a couple of my friends, and I was like, it's almost like 1 a.m. If it gets to 1 a.m., I'm literally going to leave the game. Like, I just refuse to play it any later than this because I'm not going to stay up all night waiting for this Uno game to end. And apparently the AI that took over from me won the game. So there it is. I walked so he could run.
I will say there are some strategies. So, like, there's a tiny little bit of strategy you can do, but it's very casual. It's just accept the bullshit. That's just. Then how
also, I've been playing Liar's Bar. I don't know if you've seen this, but it was it came out this year, quite popular on Twitch. It was quite cheap. It's like £5 off sale, and it was like £4 on sale. But basically, my friend was like, "Hey, Liar's Bar looks fun. You want to get it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." And then another one of my friends was like, "Yeah, I'm down." So we just played it, and it's essentially Russian roulette. It's called Liar's Deck. So basically, there's 6 of each type: aces, queens, and kings. And then every round there will be a card. So it'll be queens, and I put down a card and I go, "This is a king," and you can either say I'm lying or you can put down a card yourself. And if you call me out for lying, because there's 2 games and they're both about lying basically. If you call me out and you're wrong, you have to shoot yourself on one of 6 of your revolvers. There's 5 blanks and 1 live, and then if you are right, then I have to shoot myself. So that's how that game works. And then there's a game called Liar's Dice, where you basically have to roll a bunch of dice, and then you have to bet how many of a number you think is under everybody's cup. So I could roll a bunch of dice and look at mine, and I go, oh, I have 4 4s, and I think there's probably another 4. So I go, I bet 5 4s, and then the next person has to bet a number higher, and then they can bet that number or a different number, for example. So it's pretty interesting. And then that you drink 2 vats of poison. It's pretty simple. Like, at first, me and Luke did not understand the dice one, and then we played it a couple of times. Like, oh yeah, and then we were like, okay, now we understand it. Because I thought it was just your dice that you had to bet, but apparently it's everyone's dice. Laura kept saying, "It's just skulls. It's just skulls," and I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. You know the skulls games with the coasters.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that game. I don't remember how you play that, but sure.
You have to like bet how many you can turn over, sort of thing. It's like that basically. If you ever played that card,
it's been so long since we played skulls in real life.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really fun. I feel like somebody wrote a review on Backlogged, which I was like, I think I agree with this. It's like me and my friends loaded up, played it for hours. It was some of the best fun we had, and then we never played it again. Never felt the urge to play it again. And I was like, that sounds about right. I feel like I'll play this once or twice. I'll be like, that was really fun, and then never feel the need to have to play it again. You know. There's my short review on Lies.
Yeah.
I did Power Wash Simulator Ice Rink. They released a brand new Christmas map, a little bit smaller than Santa's Grotto, I think. At least, you know, when you've got people pulling out the triple nozzle. Haram.
Oh, you're blaming that, are you?
Well, I'm a turbo nozzle only kind of guy. I like to clean as slow as possible. And sometimes, when people are trying to speed up, I'll have intermittent issues with my power washer and, make sure to keep people on their toes. But yeah, completed this short little map, Christmas theme stuff. And then I've been playing quite a lot of Marvel Rivals, actually. I've played for like 10 hours in the past couple of days.
Oh, blimey. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's been out since the 7th. It says the 6th, but it came out like midnight on the 6th.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think it's only been I think this is the 3rd day, potentially, which would make it the 3 days. I don't remember, but it's essentially, if I was going to describe it, it's third-person Marvel Overwatch. That's essentially what the game is.
Yeah.
It is very close to Overwatch, and I am not mad about it. I know some people are like, oh, it's just a blatant rip-off, and I'm like, I'm having fun. I don't really care. It's another one of those games where I'm like, I'm probably going to stop playing this in like a couple of weeks, but right now I'm having fun, and basically it's free to play. So, and again, shout out to NetEase Gaming. I know they are a Chinese mobile company, but the monetization in this game, every character is free and you can buy skins. They actually have good monetization in this game, which I'm so surprised about. Considering Overwatch 2 launched with like characters in the Battle Pass, that is kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, that can still come. That's the great thing about a live service, isn't it? Like they can mess it up later.
And I am now a Squirrel Girl main. as it seems like a lot of the internet is. I've seen some people that seem to be obsessed with this character.
Well, she is pretty thick in this game. I don't know if that's
NetEase Gaming has made sure that the female characters are well represented in this game.
Everyone is like, the men are well chiseled. I would say, like, I think that everyone's just.
You can tell this game is made by a Chinese mobile developer.
Yes,
this has got real gacha character design in it. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really fun. Then I've watched Alien vs. Predator, the first Alien vs. Predator film. And my initial take on this is I don't like it. It sucks. I felt like I was watching the first like 40 minutes and I was like, if you skipped the first 40 minutes of this film, you would miss absolutely nothing about this film. Like the plot, what's going on. There's just like really boring, non-existent characters on it. And then just like they like randomly throw in action scenes and they just feel like non-impactful. And I'm like, wait a minute, who directed this? I look it up. Paul W.S. Anderson, the director of the Resident Evil movies. Oh yeah, that makes sense. It's a shitty action film with no characters in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too
suck, though.
Pleased with Alien vs. Predator.
I think the concept could be good, but yeah, it's never been.
I'll let you know if they improve it with Alien vs. Predator 2 when I watch that. Then next
it might improve it. Would it be good?
I've been watching Michiko to Hatchkin, which I didn't know existed until like a week ago, when I was literally, I've been trying to watch everything by Watanabe. Sorichino Watanabe, the director of like Cowboy Bebop and Kids on the Slope and stuff. Because I was checking his Wikipedia page for like stuff he's directed, and I was like, oh, I've gone through everything other than like Macro Plus. What's it called? Shinichiro Watanabe. What's it called? It's a really old Macross Plus is what it's called that he directed. Right. But I literally was in someone's random Twitch stream. I clicked on it and somebody in the chat said, what's your favorite anime? And they said Michiko to Hatchkin. And I was like, and they were like, you've probably never heard of it. They were right. I'd never heard of it. I looked it up. And then I looked at the images of it and I was like, man, this anime looks a lot like Cowboy Bebop. And then I looked into it and it was like from the creators of Cowboy Bebop. And I was like, wait a minute. So this is something that he was the producer on. But it is like, you can feel his influence on this. It is very like Cowboy Bebop-y, like feels very like a Shinichiro Watanabe show. On Wikipedia, he's listed as the music producer, but I feel like that can't be the extent to what he worked on this. I don't know if like other people from like Cowboy Bebop and stuff worked on this as well. I'm guessing probably there was. But yeah, basically it's the story of, because what usually with the other stuff he's worked on, it's like you have like sort of an outlaw sort of thing where it's like, not somebody who's on the other side of the law, but somebody feels like kind of out of place. It's sort of like a drifter. So like Cowboy Bebop, you have, and like Space Dandy, you have a bounty hunter. So not somebody who's on the side of the law, but not somebody who's against the law. Michiko and Hatchkin is about a escaped convict who, and like, whereas like Cowboy Bebop was all about like, it's like American jazz in space, and then Space Dandy is like electronic music in, space. They're all very scrappy, I would say, as well. Then like, Kids on the Slope, Samurai Champloo are all very, and Terror in Resonance are all like very much, this is Japan. This is South America, which is like such a weird place to set it, but it's like, it's very different from the other stuff he's worked on. You immediately get like these Latin vibes, and it's cool. And it's also very strange to have characters with like Spanish first names and then like Japanese last names. You have like this weird like clash of culture. Let me see if I can find the character list. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Yeah, here we go. The one that threw me the fuck off is his name is Pedro Yamada. And I'm like, that's the most like Spanish first name and Japanese last name. But I guess it's like this weird mix of like South American and Japanese. It is really interesting. I want to watch more of it. I'm interested to know more about it. But essentially there's this kid who is been adopted by like a South American like a priest and his family, and they've taken her in, but they're just abusing the fuck out of her, basically. They're just... Literally, I can't think of a character that you're made to hate more than these people that are looking after this kid. The siblings are bullying her, the parents do not like the kid, and then this convict comes along and just basically picks them up and takes them along and says, I knew your father, come with me. And then they're going off onto this adventure. So I'm not sure if it's going to be more like an overarching narrative. It's going to be more episodic. It's going to be somewhere in between. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm pretty intrigued so far. I think the characters are pretty cool so far.
Sounds interesting though.
Yeah, it's another like Watanabe thing. I just didn't know about. I wanted to check it out. It seems pretty cool so far.
What year did this come out?
2008. So this puts it between this is between Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, I think. Samurai Champloo is I want to say like 2010. I think Kids on the Slope is like 2012. Space Dandy's like 2014. Terror in Resonance is like 2016. And then you have like later stuff like Carol and Tuesday, which is like 2020.
Right.
But yeah, this is what he like was working on after Cowboy Bebop, I think, which is why it feels very... Oh no, Samurai Champloo was 2004. So this is after Samurai Champloo, actually. Okay. Samurai Champloo was earlier than I thought. Okay, so this is after Samurai Champloo, which is interesting. Because I know literally... he made Samurai Champloo because he was like, I want to make a show that's way more lighthearted because I don't want to work on more serious stuff like Cowboy Bebop. And a lot of his other stuff after this point is much more lighthearted. Like, obviously the one side of the spectrum is Cowboy Bebop is like quite a serious, heavy show, and then Space Dandy being like the most nonsensical, wacky thing he's ever made, which I absolutely fucking adore. It's one of my favorite shows ever. But yeah, like Samurai Champloo would sit in like the middle of this. I think this show seems to be settling more in the middle. Okay. Because there's very much like, it's like grounded. It's like, yeah, South America is like drenched in poverty and shit sucks, but also, and it's like, because it's got like, the gang violence stuff that's happens in South America. They're playing into that, but it's also like characters jumping through windows on motorbikes and then shooting people. And I'm like, that's a kind of like, non-realistic, but we'll see how far it goes,
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I've been watching Beast Stars, which Beast Stars. I was watching Dan to Down on Netflix, coming out weekly. Still amazing, by the way. One of the best shows I've seen in a long time that is currently airing. And it popped up and it said, we got Beast Stars and there's a new season of it. And I said, what the hell is this? This looks like a furry show, but it's also anime. And I was like, let me watch it and see if it's just a show for furries or is something interesting to watch. I've only watched the first 2 episodes, so I can't go too in depth with it, but it seems like it might actually be kind of interesting. Like they're actually using the animal dynamic to like have interesting characters where I'll give you like the setup where it's like anthropomorphic characters, and they're in like a school together, but there's herbivores and carnivores that go to the same school.
Oh, okay.
But they live in a society where carnivores are not allowed to eat meat, and it's considered like kind of bad to show your aggression sort of thing. And then essentially we have our main character who's a wolf, and one day suddenly he's like, I kind of want to eat my classmates. And that's what the show's about. Like, and I think that's a really interesting angle to go down. Like, it's like, because on the one hand, you're like, it's kind of a show about somebody who suddenly wants to start killing people, but it's also like a show about you like, well, of course, he's a fucking wolf. He wants to eat rabbits and deers and stuff. Like, and I'm interested to see where it goes. So,
like instinctual feeling versus like societal.
Yeah, it's using like herbivores and carnivores rules as like a analogy as well for societal differences and stuff like that, which I think is interesting. I think I'm going to watch some more of this and then see where it goes. But anything you wanted to hear more about before we move on?
No, I thought I did have a question, then you don't explain it. Oh, okay, no, I feel like I guess been explained, or I just watched the Discord streams at the time. So,
about the games, yeah.
I think we're safe to move on.
Cool. Let's move on to releases. We have Anton Blast came out on the 3rd of December 2024. This is a fast-paced platformer. It is of the style of Pizza Tower or WarioWare. Not WarioWare.
What is Anton Blast thing, though?
Himself, probably, if I was going to guess.
Okay.
Not WarioWare, but Wario games, basically, like the platforming Wario games. I think Wario, like 4 specifically, maybe. Again, I've never played the later Wario games. I've played the ones where he just kind of runs around picking up treasure slowly. But it seems like...
slowly? Okay.
Well, I played like the Game Boy Wario games. But it seems like the later, like the Game Boy Advance ones maybe are like where people really were like, okay, it's about speed and style and stuff. And that's where you get like the Pizza Tower stuff that people seem to really like. This is a peak video game. Don't be fooled. This isn't even close to a Pizza Tower clone. It takes inspiration from Wario Land and Crash Bandicoot. It's probably not a game for everyone since it's pretty challenging, especially the bosses and the final level. But if you like Wario Land or Crash Bandicoot, buy this on the spot. Peak puzzle platformer. The developers cook so well. They world-class chefs. It has 1,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews, which is pretty cool. Let's have a look. So Wario Land, they had some early games on the Game Boy, which I liked the Wario games I played on the Game Boy, but I don't know. I think I played a demo for Pizza Tower, and I was like, I don't know if did I play Pizza Tower or did I watch Pizza Tower? I can't even remember. I think I might have played a demo for... Did I play the demo for Anton Blast? Is that where I'm getting confused?
I don't remember. Did you? I don't remember Anton Blast.
Let me check the podcast. Let me see if I can search for... There's a game that came out this week. Yeah, I played Anton Blast. So I played this one, and I was like, I think this is like Pizza Tower, and I think based on me not kind of getting on with this game too much, maybe I won't like Pizza Tower. Because there's another game we're going to talk about. Symphonia, which do you remember? I'll show you this game in a minute, and then I'll ask you about it. But yeah, people seem to like this. I'm still not sure on the whole like fast-paced Wario platforming stuff. I don't know if that's my jam. I mean, I'm not a big fan of precision platformers in general. Like, I don't like Crash Bandicoot, and up until recently, like Celeste has been the only like precision platformer that's kind of won me over.
Right.
Next up, we have Fantasia Neo Dimension came out the 5th adventure. This was the Apple Arcade exclusive JRPG from one of the original creators of Final Fantasy. They've released it on Steam now. So I wanted to see what people were thinking of it now that it's on PC. This game really feels like a PS1 era Final Fantasy game in the modern age. Remember back when RPGs all had your 3D models running around on a painted background? Well, in this, all of the environments are actually handcrafted dioramas and running around on them really brings me to games like FF7, 9, except since it's a 3D model, it's more dynamic and fluid. So far, the story and battle system feels really good. I enjoy the Lost Odyssey style short stories to fill in the memories. One cool system of the game is that you unlock a little ways in is the ability to store random enemy encounters and fight them all at once in a gauntlet whenever you want, or when it hits 30 enemies. This feature is so nice. Sometimes when you just want to take a sec to explore and loot chests, it's nice to not be interrupted by random encounter. Wait, so you can basically say, "Oh, I don't want to be stopped by this random encounter. I'll fight it later." Is that what he's saying?
I'll fight as a big boss. Yeah, it sounds like a big boss at the end.
You have to fight. Are you like locked into fighting them back to
back? Yeah. That sounds like that's what when he says gauntlet. I think that's what he means, or what they mean.
That's kind of how Persona games work, where not in this exact way, but the way Persona games work is you go between exploring and doing social link stuff, and then you go into a dungeon and you kind of try and get all of the fights out of the way so you can go back to the exploring and social link stuff.
But I think a lot of RPGs have that sort of system where you're going out like where the battle places are different, where the quests are, or where the other mechanics are. But it sounds like I don't know. I could almost work in any RPG with like random encounters. I don't know. I'm curious to how
somebody
that works.
said here there are no technical issues. It runs great on my Steam Deck, and the issue with this release is just a lazy port of the original mobile title. So maybe people are saying, look, they didn't really improve it for the PC version, which some people may or may not like. I did notice, like, playing Metaphor recently, I was still like, they're still using like 2D backdrops a lot of the time. Metaphor is a game that looks like a PS4 games, but for some reason runs like a PS5 game in terms of like its requirements. Like sometimes
their UI is very heavy though.
So sometimes with like Japanese dev, it's like, especially with like From Software and stuttering stuff or like arbitrary frame rate locks, I'm just like, I really like Japanese games, but I wish they had some more technical prowess. You know who unironically has some of the best technical prowess in Japanese devs? I think Nintendo might have some of the best technical prowess when it comes to like optimizing games. Well, because they have to hit such a low like technical spec.
And they know what they need to get rid of and what to keep and what to get rid of, like what actually matters.
Them or like Capcom's sometimes good.
It depends, but yeah, they can be good.
Next up, we have The Thing Remastered. Came out on the 5th of December. This is the faithful restoration of the cult classic 2002 third-person survival horror shooter game inspired by Universal Pictures genre-defining 1982 film The Thing. Not to be confused with the thing that came out in like the fucking, what is it, like the 60s or something? Because most people think of John Carpenter's The Thing when you think The Thing. But yeah, I did see one review of this where they basically said it's a night dive port, obviously they're preserving it, but it's much better to look at this from a distance than actually play it. Let's see what people are saying in the reviews. I've beaten this on every platform available, PC, PS2, and Xbox, more times than any man should, and I've beaten the remaster now too for $30. I just cannot recommend this at all. First off, The Thing was never really a particularly good game. It's a neat IP tie-in horror shooter that gives way to a fairly mediocre rush through linear levels against human soldiers, like a lot of games back then. As for this remaster, I'm kind of shocked how many obvious touch-ups were not performed. They claim the bosses were worked on, but they're identical. The small ledge in the second boss fight still snags you. The third boss still has brain-dead AI that can't hit you if you're directly in front of him. There would be extremely easy fixes to implement, yet they chose not to for some reason. Similarly, the enemy AI in the final level still mindlessly waltzes into its own mines, and the pathfinding for your own squad is worse than ever. Yeah, I think it's like Night Dive is very much like if it was broken in the original, it should be broken in the remaster, as long as you can play it.
If it's still broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. But yeah, to the review I was saying, people are like, it's a good job of getting it running on modern systems and working well, but it's like, it's faithful to a T, basically. Like,
yeah,
maybe this game should have been changed.
Faults.
Yeah. Symphonia. This is the game I wanted to talk about, Tony. Do you remember? Because this game came out in like 2020 on itch.io, and I played this, and it was like a platforming Metroidvania, and I swear to God, we made a video on this. I go to the YouTube channel of the podcast, and I'm trying to find Symphonia, and I can't find it. I'm looking at like spotlights and tangerines, and I can't find it. But I've 100% played this. So I don't know if I played it and didn't make a video on it, or I just can't find it. But do you remember?
Well, I remember
this
talking
game?
about it. Yeah, I remember the game. I remember talking about it. I feel like it's either in Tangerine, but it might have been before Tangerines. So it might have been like you just talked about in a podcast where you showed gameplay. I think I can't remember though.
I wanted to find it so I could say, here's what I used to think about this game, but I can't remember. It was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I played like an early itch.io demo, because it was like a student game, but it seems to be turned into like a full commercial product now.
So was it a smaller scope or smaller length, and now it's been expanded? Is that what's happened?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. Let me have a look at the store page.
There's still a demo.
In the realm of Symphonia, music acts as a life source. I don't know if it specifically says. Experience and overcome great platform challenges with all of the Philemon's abilities, cover various environments. I don't think it specifically says how it changes from the demo. Really enjoying this so far. One of those games that's so pretty and detailed, you can't believe they even... The one thing I do remember is how good looking like the backgrounds and stuff was. It was a really nice looking game. The music, of course, also really nice. Also, the cutscenes, maybe the smoothest cutscenes I've ever played in a video game. Is it just me? So, I'm going to go off on a tangerine. Are you annoyed when cutscenes are at locked to 30 FPS?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas gameplay is like unlocked FPS. Well, I might be in the minority here. It doesn't really bother me.
I would say my biggest problem isn't like when it's like it's fine, but like for me, at least for me, whenever I have it, like it seems to like there seems to be a jitter. Like it seems like a very obvious jump. I guess after that, the fact that it becomes normal, then goes back. Like it's just the transition that's wrong. At least on like my installs anyway with my setup.
I don't know. I've just been watching a lot of animation stuff at 20 FPS or whatever it's at, and I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Not really that bothered. And then switching between like gameplay and cutscenes in games, I'm like, yeah, not really bothering me. I think it would annoy me more like if the cutscenes were in 3D versus 2D. Like, do you think that is like, because sometimes in Persona it'll go to like a pre-rendered 2D cutscene, and if that's in 30 FPS or whatever, I don't care. Like it's just animation. It's like a 2D animation.
The low FPS is better than. I just feel like I would rather just the cutscene be rendered in the engine itself.
Right.
So that means any improvement, like if you're like modding it or like it gets the improvement later down the line, like it'll just be improved automatically.
There is negatives to doing that because
absolutely.
For example, the new remaster of Super Mario RPG on the Switch has 720p 1080p gameplay, but all of the cutscenes are pre-rendered in 4K, so they look really good, blown up on a screen.
Yeah, but I would say that better games do it. Being like when they go into cutscene mode, they're completely different presets to like the gameplay mode. That's what Baldur's Gate does. Like it has completely different settings than like you're zoomed out doing the walking around compared to zoomed in looking at like highly detailed facial animations and things. Like that's just to me like the best way to do it. But you need to do it right. Like it is more difficult, and you do. I can understand why people do it or why devs do it. Like it does make sense. Yeah. And I guess it's less. I feel like it's be less outdated now, especially if you're doing it for like the pre-render stuff 4K. Like how outdated is it going to be? But there's just like historically, like if you play like a 10-year-old game and like and you're able to mod it, for example, then the cutscenes look awful.
Like imagine at the time you're making like a a Xbox 360 game, and you're like, well, we'll just put it in high resolution of 720p. Like, when is it ever going to get outdated?
Sure. But I will say, if you do the whole preset thing, you could mod it so that say you like it's 720p gameplay, it's 1080p cutscene mode. You could mod it to be like, oh no, do 1080p gameplay mode, do 4K cutscene mode. Like there are like ways around it where it's like there's more.
Yeah, it's possible.
As long as you make it open, there's more flexibility. But again, that is harder. There's a reason why they don't want to do that.
It's nuance, it's time, it's development cost. It's like
yes.
And the fact that devs can't release games without stuttering on PC is probably a much bigger issue.
If they don't have the technical team to be able to like make it not stutter to begin with, then like I have less faith that they can even get it to like work in cinematic mode. So
yeah, Tangerine aside,
that's my deal.
I want to talk about Symphonia. Let's have a look. Is anyone talking about the game? I'm probably about halfway through, but it's insanely fun and challenging, never to the point of making me want to rage quit. The art is gorgeous, the gameplay is creative, and the music and the violin solos especially are beautiful. It makes me want to pick up the violin again. Yeah, it's like precision platforming to classical music, it seems like people are saying. I remember enjoying it, but I remembered there was something missing, and I can't remember what it was, but I would love to see if this has been changed in like the past 4 years since I played it. But yeah, it looks really cool. Path of Exile 2 came out on the 6th of December. We got a big one here. So this is the early access release. So for the early access release, they said Path of Exile 2 will be in early access for at least 6 months. And in order to play Path of Exile 2 in early access, you need to buy the early access supporter pack, which will give you access to the early access period. Path of Exile 2 will eventually be free to play, but you have to wait until it comes out of early access. Because I was confused. I thought because the problem is with games these days, like for example, I am going to play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle when that comes out on Game Pass tomorrow, but it's been out for 3 days on the early access pass. Because games these days are being like, oh, we'll release the game 3 days early if you pay more money. And I'm like, that's fucking dumb. So I thought maybe they were doing a thing where they were releasing Path of Exile 2 a couple of days early for people if they paid. This is not that. This is going to be like 6 months to a year of early access with development.
A proper early access.
Yeah. Did you see, by the way, that the early access build of... Because they released Indiana Jones a couple of days early... But the early access version didn't have ray tracing, but the release version will have ray tracing.
Okay.
Which I was like, I've not kind of weird.
I've not seen anything about it, so
I'm going to be playing it when it comes out because it's on Xbox Battle Pass.
I hope it's good, but I know nothing about it as of right now.
Well, it comes out officially on Steam and Battle Pass tomorrow, so I will.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on the next podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Going back to Path of Exile 2. Path of Exile is a game I've always been interested in, but I've launched it a couple of times before, and every time I launch the game, I open the talent tree and I go, oh, fuck this, and then I close the game. And then, just to put it in perspective, I'm somebody who likes Diablo 4, and I like Diablo. I know, it's kind of a sin to be like, I like ARPGs that are casual, but I kind of like
you like the story,
ARPGs.
not the end game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same.
Guys, I like Minecraft dungeons. That's right up my alley. But yeah, I'm tempted to give PoE 2 a go, but I'm not so tempted to purchase in the early access. I might give it a go when the game launches. But the thing is with PoE, looking at PoE 1 now, there's so many fucking systems in PoE 1 that it's so overwhelming to try. Because it's not just the talent tree or what the hell that all these stats mean against. Literally, I went on the beach in PoE 1 and I picked up a piece of gear and I was like, is this piece of gear better than this piece of gear? I have no idea what these stats mean. This is so fucking confusing.
Yeah. I guess it's meant to be depending on what your build is, it might be better, but you don't know what all the stats and what all the conditions are.
But it's like in PoE 1, you have hideouts, delves, fucking... did I say heists? There's...
No.
there's like a farming mini game thing. There's so many like seasons that have added so much like stuff to PoE 1 now that I'm just like, where the hell do you start with this stuff? It just feels kind of overwhelming. But I'm wondering if it's like, because PoE 2 is supposed to be slower than PoE 1, like a lot slower. You have like a dodge roll and there's like WASD movement, I believe, if you want to as well.
I'm a big fan of WASD movement. Give me dual stick shooter like stuff with my ARPGs.
But yeah, it seems interesting. I think me and you probably maybe check this out when it comes out of early access. It seems like apparently 500,000 people are playing it right now. It's very popular on Twitch as well.
That is
lots
insane.
of people are playing it. Yeah. I know people have been waiting for this game to come out. There's lots of big PoE fans.
I have virtually all of them would have to have paid to early access. There's not like very few review copies, I would assume. There's definitely not that many review copies. So.
Oh, I think 500,000 people bought the early access. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy.
There's a lot of people playing this right now.
I mean, I'm still interested in it. Like, nothing I'm looking at like turns me off. Like, so I was looking at the screenshots of some of the bosses. I was like, oh, they look really cool.
I think I think aesthetically it looks really cool, and I think like the graphics are definitely improved from PoE 1 as well, which is nice to see.
I might look into like what the 12 classes there are. Like just like actually like looking into like.
I was watching one of my favorite streamers, Forsen, playing this game, and he had like this. He had like this crossbow, but it had this ammo system where you'd have to keep reloading ammo. But the different ammo he put in changed his ability. So he had like frost ammo, and then he had like explosive ammo, and it like he had to like actively choose what he wanted to reload into the gun, and it felt like there was like actual choices to the game in terms of just like autopiloting sort of thing. Like it feels like PoE feels like a very purposeful game where it's like. Every skill point matters, every stat matters, every skill you use matters, sort of thing, right?
That's what I want to see. There's no point having a massive. I'm not saying PoE 1 has this, but like I don't. As the other games, like they have like these skill trees, and it's like half is like kind of and I always then choose the more interesting ones, which is then suboptimal. Like make them more interesting.
Yeah, I think it's funny that the advice from PO1 players is like. You should go into the game, make your own build, realize that you've destroyed your character, and you won't be able to salvage it from this point because you've put points into stuff that are shit, and then use that lesson to restart a brand new character. That's like the actual advice people give.
Well, that's my advice for like play Solaris. Is like you can like get to like basically like how to play like different like how to actually like what buttons you press to get to certain things and what you should be thinking about. But like to know like how things actually combine, you have to just learn and fail.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. The big game that came out on the 6th of December, Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is doing fucking. Marvel Rivals has 500,000 people playing it as well. So that's another fucking huge game. Yeah.
How many skins have been bought?
I would say for Psylocke, her skin is a must buy.
Older comic look.
Oh, there's also a hell. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I looked at all the characters. So Black Widow, she's essentially Widowmaker. She looks like she has scoliosis posture. And it makes perfect sense that this game is in third person because then you get to show off like the skins, for example.
I think that's why I like third person stuff. Is that I can then see myself and the character I'm playing.
It's interesting because they went with Marvel characters, but they decided to make it so that they're not the MCU versions. They are like their comic book versions.
That has to be a licensing thing to where it's like easier, or they can make money.
Well, then they don't have to get like Chris Evans to come and record voice lines and pay for the rights to his face and stuff. But also, they do have like MCU crossovers, so you can get like a Wolverine is in a yellow suit, but then he has like his Deadpool versus Wolverine suit that he wears in that film, and that's a skin. Or then you have like Black Widow Black Widow has like her white outfit from the Black Widow film, which I haven't seen, but I've seen the posters for that. Let's see if I can find an image of what I'm talking about. There we go. So this is what like Psylocke normally looks like, and then this is you said this is like a classic design, I believe.
Yeah, that's what she used to look. I don't know what it looked like. I remember that's what like when I first heard of Psylocke. This is what I know her to look like.
Yeah. But then there's also a Helya skin, which gives her a cosmic booty, which I think might be a popular skin. But other than that, I think most of them are pretty much unnerfed from the get-go. It is very much like female characters with big postuaries, and then male characters that are just built like they're on so many fucking steroids. It is like Chinese mobile gaming characters.
I mean, Bruce Banner's pretty scrawny, but then he becomes a Hulk. So
yeah, the Hulk is jacked, bro. You wouldn't say that shit aloud.
But Hulk is more jacked than normal. Like, it is crazy how.
Oh yeah,
he's the bulk. He's the bulk.
He's been drinking chocolate milk and eating raw liver for sure. There's no way.
Do you think the Hulk's always been like really buff, right? But this is more than ever.
Do you think the Hulk is natty?
No.
You don't think he's natty? Okay.
No. I don't think radiation counts as natty.
One thing I've been really enjoying about this, because they have like the obvious characters, but I've just been learning, about some of the lesser characters. Like I've been learning about Jeff the Land Shark and Squirrel Girl.
Great.
Like, or Luna Snow, Magic. Never heard of these characters.
No.
Moon Knight. I've heard of the Namor, which from what I can tell is Aquaman. I have no idea who this is. Aquaman at home, yeah. But yeah, actually, unironically, the character I've been playing the most is Squirrel Girl. I've actually been enjoying playing her quite a lot, and I think it's a very funny character because I believe, in terms of Marvel lore, Squirrel Girl was created in like the 60s as a joke character where she would basically like completely destroy like Thanos off screen on like a comic panel. And basically her power scaling got to a point where she was considered to be one of the strongest characters in the entire Marvel universe. But her only power is that she basically has the power of a squirrel. So she can like psychically connect with... She has an army of squirrels and she has squirrel powers, but she's also strong. And I think at this point she exists as like a weird joke character.
Yeah. It's almost like Deadpool. But
yeah, I think she fights Deadpool as well.
More...
I think she might even beat Deadpool in a fight.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how impactful it is. What will you think? But like the team up mechanics, like I guess like abilities you get, I suppose, when it's like you have this correct team combo.
Oh, you have the team up abilities. Yeah, for example, if you're playing like Squirrel Girl, you can ask somebody else, or somebody else will be playing Spider-Man, and if someone's playing Spider-Man, you get a brand new ability that only happens when you have that other person on your team. So
I thought like the Groot ones that are just on their on Groot's shoulders.
Yeah, so you can like team up with like Jeff the Land Shark or Rocket Raccoon. Which Rocket Raccoon's a healer in this game. He uses like healing droids sort of thing. Because there is like basically three classes: tank, healer, and DPS. There's no role queue at the moment, which is interesting because like quick play, sometimes you'll go into a game and you'll have like 6 DPS, and then you'll very much be like, I wish we had a tank and a healer. Or one of the most miserable things I've played against, which I hope doesn't become a thing, is a team that has 3 healers on it and then like 2 tanks, and I'm just like, you just can't kill anyone, and I'm just like, this is so miserable. Like, I don't know how, because you need to get to level 10 to unlock ranked. I think I'm like level 11, so I've just unlocked ranked, but I don't know how ranked works, but I've heard ranked queue is really fucking long. Like, I don't know if it was the time of day, because I was watching a stream of it, and he was like, "Oh, the queue for ranked was like 30 minutes." The queue for quick play in this game is one of the quickest quick play queues I've ever seen in my entire life. You hit play again, so it's like there's no like accepting queues, there's no like readying up. You hit play and you're immediately in a game. Like it's that popular right now. Like there's 500,000 people playing, and it won't be like this forever because obviously people are fickle, myself included. But if you want to get into a game that is free to play, has all the characters unlocked, is actually genuinely pretty fun, and is very easy to convince other people to get into because most people know Marvel characters and hero shooters are quite universally popular and approachable to people. I'm going to say it. Marvel Rivals is actually one of the better multiplayer games 2024. It's actually really fun.
Do you not think a part of the problem is like why rank is so slow is because like people aren't level 10 yet?
That's it. The game literally came out like a couple of days ago. So, and then the player base of people who want to play ranked versus quick play is also going to be different as well.
I just feel like maybe level 5 should be ranked. I don't know. I just
it's not that hard to get to level 10. It's not
no, but it's quite a time sink though.
I think it took me like 8 hours of playing, maybe.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. It's not like League of Legends where you have to spend like
no.
You know, I don't know how long it would take, like 30 hours to get a level 30 account for ranked.
I just think you should be long enough to like get people like to like for quote unquote force people to like know the game to good enough to like get into. That's like all it should be in my eyes. But I don't play these sorts of games, so I don't actually know.
Jesus,
what it needs to be.
Somebody's saying here, in League of Legends, to get a level 30 account, it takes about 15 to 20 days, so like 2 weeks of playing the game in order to unlock the ranked mode. So like when I say it takes 8 hours to unlock ranked in Marvel Rivals, that's pretty fucking fast.
Okay.
In my experience of like multiplayer games. Like it doesn't take that long. Because obviously they need to put some sort of barrier so that somebody doesn't just make Smurf accounts and immediately keep smurfing, and then also somebody loads up the game and immediately goes into ranked. You want them to learn the game first.
100%. I understand that. Yeah, you're trying to limit both complete noobs and somewhat limit somewhat. Yes, it's harder to abuse the system.
Another thing, it's like on Steam, but you have to load up through a launcher, which I'm like, okay, this game definitely didn't need a launcher, but you launch through that, and then you have to go through the NetEase kernel level anti-cheat, which is the first time I've ever seen like NetEase anti-cheat, but fine, whatever. But it's like, it has a shader precompiled, this game actually. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game. My shader precompile always gets to like 75%, and it's like, close enough. And then it just goes on to the game. I can't tell if that's like the game actually fully piling, and then it's just like, yeah, this is fine, but I think it's doing something. The optimization of this game is fine. I feel like it's built on Unreal Engine 5. It generally looks good. Like I've been trying to mess with the settings. I've gone from, because it has lumen reflections on like global illumination. That actually looks pretty good. I've been messing around with the settings because the game's been crashing a little bit. I know it's been a bit unstable for people. And I tried messing with the settings, and honestly, like turning all the settings from like ultra or high to low, the only thing I noticed a difference was the reflections. Because the game has like DLSS and like frame gen and stuff. Which, again, like DLSS for single player games makes a lot of sense, but I think like DLSS in multiplayer games, I have it on, but I don't think everyone realizes that it's not like a silver bullet DLSS in multiplayer games, because technically you're getting less input latency through higher frame rates if you use DLSS, but DLSS does have an innate input hit to using it, because you are generating and upscaling the picture. So there is there is some input delay from using DLSS, so it is kind of, you got to kind of try and bounce it. But I'm using it because I'm playing at 4K, so I'm like, well, I'm not going to play native 4K. That's kind of nuts, right?
Yeah, I was saying
It's an
like
Unreal
it's like
Engine
when
5
we're trying to do
game.
like the FPS of the multiplayer. Like I guess latency is more important than actual frames.
Yeah, but I didn't think I'd ever say it. Shout out NetEase Gaming, surprisingly good, well monetized game, free to play. And then we have 5th of December, Nico Dorico. I think maybe that's how you pronounce it. The Magical World came out. It looked like a 2.5D/3D platform. It kind of reminds me of Crash as well. But also kind of reminds me of like DK, like Donkey Kong Country, like Ukulele the Impossible Lair.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
that's interesting for sure.
I'm waiting for Nico's release on Steam Deck, and wow, it's exactly what the console needs. It's an insta-buy. Gameplay-wise, it's a blast. It feels like a modern take on classic Donkey Kong Country, better than Yuka, and not really like Crash except for the chase sequence. So it seems like I was spot on the money, apart from it looking a bit like Crash based on the chase sequences, but not being like Crash. So they're saying it's kind of like Donkey Kong Country and Ukulele's Impossible Lair, which I think is perfect because I fucking love those games. Controls are great. I'll tweak the slide a bit, maybe make it slightly faster and let it be a bit longer. Super fun.
It's nice to have someone else do the dirty work for you.
Fuck's sake.
Only that annoying mongoose always through.
Annoying trailers auto-playing when I'm not on them. So if
Is this just a Christmas bug?
Yeah, I don't know. It's auto-playing videos for some reason.
Yeah.
See a cuddly.
I've got it unchecked. Anyway. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It seems like people are very positive as well. Good blend of classic games. It's only got 34 reviews, so not a lot of people have played it. From the people who have played it, it seems pretty positive. So I'll have to check this one out. Why does this use de novo? Okay, it has de novo apparently.
Well, you don't want to pirate it.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently, Indiana Jones and the Golden Circle, I want to say. Is it the Golden Circle? The Great Circle. Used de novo, but only for the review period, and they've removed it for launch. So they used de novo to stop it leaking out through reviewers, but then they're not actually using de novo to punish people who are buying the game or playing it on Game Pass, which is potentially a good way to use de novo. I don't know what you think about
that. I mean, it depends if there's any performance hit. Because if you're
to the reviewers?
Copy to review the performance, then you can't. But again, it depends if there is actually performance hit, but you won't know until afterwards. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to quick news. We have GOG says, we are deeply saddened to share the news that Warcraft, Orcs and Humans and Warcraft 2 will leave our store on December 13th, 2024. So Warcraft 1 and 2 were part of GOG's preserved good old game program, where essentially they had made versions of Warcraft 1 and 2 that were available to play that were working on modern systems, and then Blizzard would we are going to remaster these games, we're going to reforge them, and they've released them on the Battle.net launcher, and
which means it's impossible to keep the original.
Which seems they've decided to remove these games from sale from GOG now. That being said, GOG has said going forward, even if a game is no longer available for sale on GOG, as part of the GOG preservation program, it will continue to be maintained and updated by us, ensuring it remains compatible with modern and future systems. So, even though Blizzard says they don't want to sell Warcraft 1 and 2, the original versions, DRM free, GOG says part of their preservation as a promise is if you buy and purchase this game, you will always be able to play it, and we will always update it and make it run on your system. Which is really cool to see, that you have that guarantee of, hey, even if Blizzard wants to, remaster this, quote unquote remaster some stuff, I can have the original version and it'll run, which is really, really cool to see. So, what do you think of this, Tony?
I think it's good that there's a point either they're not selling it, they can still support for those who do own it. It's pretty good, but yeah, it's just a shame. Again, it's like, oh, we're remastering something, so we're going to remove the original. Why? Just don't.
Oh, they've also said that the Warcraft 1 and 2 bundle, you can use checkout code Make Warcraft Live Forever, and you can get £2 off the bundle if you enter that at the checkout. So they're giving you like a little sale on it as well if you want to pick it up before it gets delisted.
Yeah.
Which is cool to see. And then we have, Tony, the 2K launcher is getting completely removed from all Epic Games.
I'm so
Steam
happy
games.
about that.
I am so happy about this because I've literally been... I launched The Quarry, and I was like, I launched it up and the 2K launcher comes up and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I hate the 2K launcher. It actually just like breaks so many games and like just fucks with so many games, and I had to like go into my settings and skip the 2K launcher so I could just actually launch the game. But it seems like 2K has gone, oh shit, even though we put in this launcher to advertise more stuff to try and make more money, we've realized that having a launcher in there that breaks a bunch of games and we have to keep supporting on every time games get updated and systems.
Yes,
it's actually costing us more money to put in this pointless launcher into the game that nobody wants. I guess we're just going to fucking sunset it and get rid of it, which is... My fingers are crossed for Ubisoft. Destroy Ubisoft Connect. Destroy Ubisoft Connect.
They don't make money.
The problem is with Ubisoft Connect is I don't think 2K has its own like store, whereas Ubisoft is all in and having its own store.
Yeah.
Like I don't think EA would ever get rid of like the EA store. Like it's hard for EA or Ubisoft to give up on their launchers because they have these stores where people can play and get subscription, like Uplay Connect and the sub thing, and EA Play, they can get to like subscribe monthly to play games on it. But one less launcher in the world is lovely to see, especially considering we never needed this.
Unless like a launcher like actually there's times it's not really a launcher, like it's just like you should still be, if you are gonna do a launcher, like make it so you can like still directly play the game as an option. That's how I see it. Like because technically, like Skyrim has a launcher. It's not very useful, but like it could have been more useful if it had like mods at there sort of thing. Same for like the Solaris. It is just the Paradox one, but the Solaris one is like technically has a use because you can manage mods and mod playlists, but you should still always be able to just launch directly.
They said they put out an update on November 25th as a follow-up update. It was sent out via Steam to make sure the 2K launcher was fully removed. You may notice the 2K launcher folder was replaced with a text file called 2K launcher remove.txt. This file is not needed and you can safely delete it. So if you don't, I've had this before where, with like Steam Next Fest.
Yeah.
Where you have the exe files downloaded, and when Steam Next Fest ends, they'll like put an update through on Steam that will replace the exe file with a text file that says like thanks for playing, the demo's done now sort of thing, so you can't keep playing the demo. So
but in this case, why just remove the folder and just not have anything? It just seems a bit weird.
I guess maybe this was easier, I don't know.
Or maybe people will ask you too many questions like, oh, someone's deleted my folder, where is it? And there's like, at least they have a file that says what happened.
But yeah,
I just find it funny. It's like, there was a folder, now it's a text file.
Rare 2KW right here. Extremely rare 2KW. You love to see
it's still for stupid reasons, but at least we got what we wanted.
Yeah. I assume it's because like they were like, shit, we're losing money doing this, rather than let's help our user experience out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That I find that it's entirely selfish, but at least everyone benefits.
Yeah. And then we have Steam news. Accidentally move that across. The return of Steam machines. Valve rolls out a powered by Steam OS branding. So Valve has put out brand new documentation to say whether a game is powered by SteamOS. I think the most obvious example of something that will potentially have this in the future would be the ROG Ally X or the ROG Ally, because there's specifically update notes to the Steam Deck SteamOS branch that has support for the Ally. And I know it's a much requested feature is having SteamOS on the Ally, and there's even really popular third-party stuff like the Bazite Linux distro running on the Ally is quite a popular thing to do.
I hope this is a prelude to because why would you make this? I mean, I guess it's popular. They only made it just when they needed to do it for a one-off. But I'm hoping this means that there'll be more openness coming to be able to compile it for more hardware and make it more open to do that by the community. Well, which I'm not a part of, but I'll still use the fruits of their labor.
Well, the copium here is that this is part of a larger effort to that Valve is working on potentially a standalone Steam PC. That would be interesting, powered by SteamOS. And then,
but I'm saying if you can compile SteamOS for any hardware, they wouldn't need to make a pre-built or anything. It would just work on more and more hardware by people doing the work for you.
But by the same logic, they wouldn't need to make a handheld. They could just put SteamOS on any handheld gaming machine, like gaming PC.
Well, no, because the handhelds gave them money to develop SteamOS. That's the way I see it.
I think they lost money on the Steam Deck. They did it as a way to push Steam Store onto more people.
Yeah.
Or I think literally one of the reasons was that Gabe Newell wanted to play Final Fantasy 14 on the go, and he didn't have a way to do it. So he was like, "Oh fuck it, I'll make a handheld gaming PC."
Yeah.
But another thing people are conjecture about is, if that's the right word, a standalone VR headset where you basically like a Quest, where you could have you could link it to a PC, but it would then be powered by SteamOS when it was on its own, sort of thing. Would be something you could put
I would
SteamOS
assume,
on it.
Yeah, I would assume they would use something like this, but I feel like this doesn't prove or disprove anything. Like it could or could not be, very easily.
We'll have to wait and see. I think at least this is pointing towards the ROG Ally X or the ROG Ally.
Yeah,
having
at least that
on it, or handhelds going forward. I don't know.
They have said in the past that they wanted to make SteamOS be compiled for more and more hardware.
Do you remember the Steam machines they did, where they went with Alienware and a bunch of other third party, boutique PC makers, and they basically
Taiwanese companies and things.
You can buy a Steam machine. Will have a hardware. They didn't do they basically just put whatever hardware in it, but we'll say it's just a Steam machine, and then it was all over the place, what a Steam machine could be. Whereas I feel powered by SteamOS having the same designated Steam front end operating system, that's on the Steam Deck. I think you can have lots of SKUs, but I think
if Valve it's more obvious.
I think it's a good idea if Valve themselves were let's make a couple of these pre-built PCs at different tiers. I would like to see some pre-built PCs that are more powerful than a Steam Deck, but potentially still keep you in that console-like ecosystem.
Oh, sure. I just don't see the need for it. I just feel it's eventually.
For me and you, I don't think it makes sense. But the thing is, when the PS5 Pro came out, I didn't see the need of why that needed to exist. But there's a massive market specifically for people who don't care about building PCs or dialing in settings. They just want to click on a game and play it on a system.
I agree. But the way I see maybe existing system integrators, pre-built PC companies that would be have an option to select SteamOS. That's kind of what I would want instead of Valve doing it themselves.
No, I'm saying I want both. I think that's a good idea.
Sure. I just don't think they would, but I've been. Then again,
Valve
it depends what they think is going to work.
Valve is 100% working on new hardware, whether that be a Steam Deck 2, whether that be a VR headset, whether that be a Steam machine box. I think that the learnings from any of those could very easily be brought over to the other. So it's definitely
100%.
well within their like scope.
Yeah.
And if anyone has money to burn, it's Valve.
Yeah, but do they have? Oh, what's the word? But like, do they have a will and a want to do this? That's the one thing that they don't always want.
I
They always
think
want to do
Valve
stuff
are
that they
very
think's
interested
obvious.
in hardware right now. Like, I think
okay.
this is the big push they're making. We'll have to wait. This is all like speculation. Like, we'll have to wait and see what comes from this.
I'm curious. I think it's good either way, though. I think either it's like, yeah, I feel like more stuff is to come anyway. We know that from like their promises to like make SteamOS more compatible with more hardware anyway. So we know that is coming. They haven't reversed it yet, which they could do, but
yeah,
this to me just leads support. So they did it for the Ally. So
let's move on to our final news topic, which is the Steam Awards. And let's go. I'm going to start from the bottom and go to the top because I feel like reverse order.
That'd be
great. The first award is the Sit Back and Relax Award. This game is the antidote to a busy day. It's smooth, it's relaxing, it lets your worries melt away. This game is your moment of zen. I have nominated Balatro for this category.
I thought you would, mate. Do you know what I've put?
For a game that came out in 2024, have you played this game?
Yeah.
That's my question. How many of these games have you actually played yourself? That's my first question.
On my list, 3.
Have you played this game that you've nominated?
Yes.
It's the it's Tinykin. No, not Tinykin. What's it called?
Tiny Glade. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Tiny Glade. Okay. Yeah. I thought about that game and I was like, oh yeah, that might be one of Tony's games. I fucking love Balatro. I will sit down and I'll be like, I'll play Balatro for 5 minutes on like my PC or my Steam Deck, and then I'll be like, okay, what the fuck? Like 3 hours have passed and I'm still just listening to this music going do 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 do. This like trippy, like great music, and yeah, I love Balatro, and it is definitely one of the most relaxing games I've played this year. I'm trying to think of any runners-up I had for. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is a pretty relaxing game. Lightyear Frontier would be another runner-up from me. Lightyear Frontier is like a mech farming sim. Very relaxing little game. Yeah. Anything you want to say about Tiny Glade before we move on?
I just said very much like Townscaper, just like it's just nice to sit back, just like see what happens creatively. It's just no expectations. It's great.
Next up, we have Outstanding Story-Rich Game Award. Some days only a narrative-heavy game will hit the spot, and this one packs a wallop. It's as gripping as any soap opera, as well-tuned as a prestige TV screenplay. Bravissimo for making us feel things. Do you want to talk about the category? Because you had issues with the actual category, or do you want to just go after our
I have a problem with this category itself. It's more just I had tricky choosing something. Like the Sit Back and Relax was the only one where I was like, oh, I know 100% what I'm going to choose for this one. All the rest I struggled with. Like I had a short list of games, like, and then it's like, where do I put them? But I'll talk about that after we've talked about all of the games. Because it'll become obvious, I think. It'll start being obvious with this one as well, what I've chosen. But
okay. Do you want to guess what I chose? Because I didn't give you the opportunity here.
This is sorry, Rick. I just feel like it's going to be a JRPG, but I don't know. That's just my guess.
Wait, Outstanding Story-Rich Game Award for you. I have no fucking idea. I'll be honest. I went for Metaphor ReFantazio here.
Okay.
Now,
I thought it'd be either one of the two Atlas games.
So Persona 3 Reload was a strong contender, but I think Persona 3 Reload I love for reasons that aren't strongly to do with its story. I think Persona 3 Reload is such a strong like all-around game, more so than it is like you have to play this gripping story. Like Persona 3 takes me on like an emotional level when it comes to like characters and music and theming. Like it makes it like Persona 3 like warms your heart and then fucking rips it out, but it's not like, but it does still have some like really cheesy nonsensical stuff in it. Like it's not like a gripping like story game. Metaphor has some like genuinely really good writing in it, like Witcher 3 level writing, I would say. Like there is some really interesting stuff. It's not like a hyper, stylized, like, one-dimensional, like everything's great. It's like, oh god, there is like metaphor is a metaphor. It is like it's a game that's more about like racism and politics and the downtrodden versus the state, religion, war, the cost of war, the cost of punishment and death. And Tony, there is like child sacrifice in this game. Like I'm not going to go into specifics, but there is some fucked up stuff that happens in this game. Like,
so we got as dark as Dragon Age Origins. Then.
Like I played like Persona 3 Reload, and Persona 3 is considered to be one of the darkest Persona games, whereas like Metaphor is like definitely like a completely different level of like darkness when it comes to Atlas games. I've never played like Shin Megami Tensei series, so that might be like slightly darker. But yeah, talking about, I'm going to talk about Metaphor again when we do like the Tangerine and the End of Game Year awards probably, but I'm enjoying Metaphor, and I'm really, because I haven't finished the story, so I'm 40 hours into the game, and I can say I've liked the story so far, I will say. Yeah. Anything you wanted to say about
my pick?
What is your pick?
So it's a game I've played. I think I checked recently with my friend who's like actually completed, and I think I've only played / we both played it at the time. This is Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay,
which is on PC now. Technically came out last year on PS5.
It technically counts. It technically counts.
So yeah, I just put Horizon Forbidden West PC is what I've written down because I didn't do it on Steam, as you may have noticed.
Yeah, I tried to say, hey, pick the Steam Awards, and you were like, yeah, I'll do it later. And then you were like, oh wait, shit, you can't do the Steam Awards anymore.
I'm actually okay with not doing it properly because I as I get into my issues with it after we've done through this.
I think you both have come to the agreement over the years that the Steam Awards is kind of a meme award system, but I'm also I'm not that angry about it anymore. Like the popular game wins. Like they have weird arbitrary categories that sometimes don't make sense, and then some game that doesn't even deserve to be nominated in the category, like people will go, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game. This is the best supported game it's the best supported game of all time, considering the fact that it got one update and then they went, shit, people aren't buying shark cards for this, we got to make more GTA 5 online updates. But I digress.
I like it fast, but but I enjoyed the story that I've seen of this so far, and it's like, and like as far as I can tell, like it continues and actually gets better.
Right.
I don't know.
Tony, you didn't so I'm just gonna meme tangent you. You didn't want to nominate Horizon. What's the remaster of the first one? What's it called?
Is it not just remaster? Is it not just
Horizon Zero Dawn? That's what it's called. No, I couldn't remember what the first. I know. I remember Horizon Forbidden West. Right. I couldn't remember it's Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I think. I was enjoying the story of the second one more than the first one. There's like some interesting like dynamic stuff from what I was seeing.
Okay.
But I was gonna say like in general, like with this category, this year I've just tried like there's not many games that came out that I care about the story in. So like, this has to win. I don't think this is like the greatest story ever, but like it's just the best this year that I've played.
Do you know what was
thought about
a game that was a big runner up for me from this year, where I can say this is a one of my favorite stories I've played in a game in a long time. Like Hellblade 2, I fucking loved. Like that really connected with me. I think Hellblade 2 is a really, really strong story, completely story-based game.
It's on my list. It's like, but one of the things I can't look into it to like know if it should be on my list because they would ruin it. So it's like I've put playing both of the games. I'm telling you now,
as somebody who did like I think it was like a 2 fucking hour long or 2 or 3 hour long rant about like both of the Hellblade games. I loved Hellblade 2. I think like the way the story plays into like the beautiful aesthetics of the game and everything, like Hellblade 2 is definitely something worth playing even if you don't check out the first game. I think it is a really because I think Hellblade 2 is a perfect game for this category. It does so well as a story game. Everything else is kind of weak, but it is a really good story game.
That doesn't matter for the category. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would definitely pick it up. I think I own the first game, so it's no I don't know. I guess I'll play the first game. If I get annoyed with that, I can stop and just go to the second one.
Then should we move on to the next award?
Yes.
Best Soundtrack Award. What do you think I put for Best Soundtrack? You said you were struggling, but I immediately knew what I was going to pick.
Oh, yeah. I always struggle with this one every year. I would assume it would be Persona 3.
Yeah, I picked Persona 3 Reload as the Best Soundtrack Award. I've been going on for the longest time about, like, before I started playing Persona games, I was, like, listening to best video game soundtracks, and constantly I was listening to Persona, and I was like, I've never heard of these Persona games, but their soundtracks are always so fucking good. They are like weird blends of like jazz and funk and just really interesting music. I love the Persona soundtrack. Persona 3, really great. As certain tracks on the Persona 3. I love that there's a YouTube video called Persona 3 Reload Best Tracks, and it's the entire soundtrack. And I'm like, I cannot disagree on a single song. I love the like, just like, because people are like, oh, it's just like jazz music or whatever, but there's great like motifs in the songs as well, where you have like the aria of the soul, like the music that plays in the Velvet Room, and then you have like the battle hymn of the soul, where you have like this rock music, and then suddenly it just like breaks down into like this operatic classical song, and it brings back like that motif of the Velvet Room, and it's just so fucking cool. And it's one of the final like boss battle themes as well, and I'm like, this is so awesome. Like Persona 3 Reload soundtrack, really, really good. Definitely check it out.
I will say that I'm not a fan of jazz, but like it seems you like it has the most. If you don't like jazz like this, like this has a lot of stuff in it that's like more. Okay.
A game that I think is going to win this, I think Metaphor is going to win this category. And I think the Metaphor soundtrack is really good. I personally prefer the Persona soundtrack to Metaphor, but I actually think Metaphor soundtrack is also really fucking sick, and it is like more fantasy classical tunes, and it's really, really good. I would recommend, if you don't like jazz, check out the Metaphor soundtrack. Metaphor is really cool.
I've done a little bit. I've not looked into it massively, so I've not put anything for this one because like nothing's like. I rarely put stuff for this one though because like nothing really like hits me like this is great.
My runners up would be Metaphor, Another Crab's Treasure, Turnip Boy. Another Crab's Treasure has a really fucking sick soundtrack, by the way. That game's really cool, but no one talks about how sick the soundtrack is. Like it's. I don't know if you ever heard like the Going Under soundtrack that they did before this. Another really cool soundtrack. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
I don't think so.
Awesome soundtrack. And in terms of like when people think about the best soundtracks, they think about soundtracks that are like, that's a banger I'm going to put on my music playlist that I just listen to as a song that comes on. And I'm like, this is a good track that stands on its own. A lot of people forget about soundtracks that are like really well crafted to the atmosphere of the game. Animal Well has like one of the best like unnervingly like atmospheric soundtracks I've heard in a long time. Like it reminds me of like Metroid Dread has a great soundtrack where every song makes me want to like shit my pants, and I'm like, but this isn't a song that it's not something that people talk about because it's not something you put on your bangers playlist, for example.
No. But it's like I feel like that for like Dragon Age Origins music is like that for me. It's like it's absolutely fantastic for the mood it's saying, but other than the title song, you can't really listen to them
Like
by themselves. At least I don't think so.
Like the animal soundtrack, Joey. There's a song called Joey, and listening to that now will give me PTSD. I'll be like, oh god.
Okay.
Like, yeah, really good soundtrack.
Part of this issue is like games that I've not played, right? Like I have to like go and like listen to the soundtrack and stuff. So, I am like listening to it in a different circumstance.
I think the issue with the Steam Awards is I play a lot of games that come out in a year, and you play like very little current games or games that have you play a couple of games that keep getting updated year on year sort of thing. It's like I think like the category of the Labour of Love Award, you would be way better suited for that category rather than me.
Yeah. I'm happy with this one, but I've chosen a weird one this year, but I'll get into that when we get there. But it's not that weird.
Did you skip this one? Did you pick this one?
I didn't pick one. I just want to end off saying on this one is like I feel like in general like most games have a decent decent songs that like evoke the mood. I actually think we've gone a lot better over the years for some. I think it's always like games have always had like for a long time anyway. Like it's had at least decent. And I feel like they're still solid. Just nothing spoke to me. Like even like a metaphor. Like I said I didn't jump out at me.
Also, I've been listening to the Persona 3 Reload DLC soundtrack that came out this year as well. It's fucking great as well. Like the song "Don't" on episode Aegis, really, really good. Should we move on to the next category?
Yes.
Best Game You Suck At Award. This is a game that rewards persistence and is not for the faint of heart. It's the toughest game we've ever loved.
I will say that I had a mini epiphany on this one. Like I've restructured what it should. Well, I don't know what it should be called, but what it should mean to me.
Yeah, because you said
shifted my perspective.
You didn't like the category, and I was like, well, the best way to think of it is like, I think the most obvious game genre to pick for this would be a roguelike. Like you've been playing a lot of Dead Cells recently, and I'm like, are you good at Dead Cells? And do you like Dead Cells?
No, I love Dead Cells. But that was my mini epiphany. That I really, from what you said, I went, wait a minute. So it's a game where it's fun to die in.
Yeah, essentially.
I think it should be called Fun to Die, or Fun to Die in, or something like that. Like, that'd be way better description for me. Yeah, fun to lose, fun to die, fun to fail.
Do you want to guess what I've picked, or shall I just go straight into it?
I can't think of what's fun. I don't know what you would find fun.
My issue is I'm too good at games. So there's not many games I suck
at. That's the problem.
I went for Chain Together as my best game you suck at award. I think
either it's a multiplayer game, like somebody else beats it.
Yeah, I think maybe I would want this category to be called Best Game where you're unfortunately chained to people who suck at the game.
That's why I think it should be like renaming it to like games that are fun when you fail. Like because that would match a lot easier.
It's true.
Fun to fail. That's what I think it should be called.
I have no idea what you would put. Did you nominate something for this?
I didn't know something, but it's not something I played.
Okay.
I was just thinking like all the stuff like the shortlist I have with only 3 of them I'd actually had played and none of them to completion. So I put another Crab's Treasure because it looked fun to die in. That's my reason. I didn't have one until I had my mini epiphany, and I was like, you know what, that matches. I don't know if it actually is fun to die in, but it looked fun. And I think Souls like another good one, like along with Roguelite, to put into like best games you suck at.
Yeah, because the thing is, I thought about this one, and then I was like, actually, I'm pretty good at another Crab's Treasure because I played this year, and I was like, actually, I was fairly good, especially when I got the magic shotgun build, and I was just literally one-shotting bosses, and I was like, I can't be bad at this. I'm destroying the game.
But I was thinking, but with my conceptualizing of the thing is like, if you didn't have that and you died, like, would it be fun if you were failing and had to then find a new way
I died a lot in another Crab's Treasure, like, generally, and I was like, this is fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
so that's
back
what I mean.
up,
Like
but,
now, as soon as I recontextualize the thing, I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Like I can otherwise, like why would I put Souls like that? Like shouldn't Souls like be in a different?
I think
category?
another Crab's Treasure is
But
a perfect pick for this category. I think that's a really good one.
But
the next award we have is Most Innovative Gameplay Award. The designers of this game are at the front lines of creative experimentation, bringing a first perspective and brain-breaking surprises. This game delighted, inspired, and entertained with newness never played before. Do you know what I put?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. I don't know what you would
crazy. Mine's I don't even know I can justify mine, but I'll try.
Okay, I went for Animal Well. I think Animal Well is a really well-designed game that has really interesting gameplay. I'm going to try and be as vague as possible because I think the beauty of Animal Well is that it's essentially a Metroidvania / Metroidbrania sort of game where the actual art of playing the game is like figuring out the ways that your abilities and items interact with the world and your memory of that. Animal Well is a game that is drenched in atmosphere. It's gorgeous, and it generally... The best way I could describe Animal Well without giving away any spoilers for the game is you will pick up a piece of useless junk in Animal Well, and you will then walk around going, what the fuck am I doing with this useless piece of junk? You will then accidentally do something, and then you will be like, I can't believe it can do this. This is one of the most useful things I could need right now. And then you'll be playing the game later on, and then you'll accidentally do something else with it, and then you'll be like, wait a minute, I can also do this with this. This has just completely changed the game. Like, Animal Well has so many, like, random eureka moments in it where the game just completely changes that I just think Animal Well is by far, like, one of the best, like, designed games of this year. It is really, really good.
I think that makes sense. I think as a Metroidvania, like to do it well, I think is innovative in of itself. Like
when you have like Metroidvania games, you're like, okay, now I need the double jump, now I need the dash, now I need the ability to destroy walls.
It's they can be very formulaic.
Animal Well's like, here's a frisbee. That's literally here's a frisbee, and it's just like, I don't want to describe any more of the game, but play Animal Well. It's literally like fucking 50 megabytes or something. I can't remember how. It is it's tiny. You can install it on a fucking phone if you want to. Like, What was your nomination then, Tony? What did you go for?
So my one makes no sense, but this is the start of me like going, I don't know. I have these list of games. I think this deserves some sort of listing. So I'm just trying to fit this square-shaped peg into this round hole. And even then, you could argue is like no, but like I keep thinking about Power World. I'm like,
This was a game I played. Okay, so Power World is a game I played this year, and I played quite a bit of it on Games Pass. But past like the start of this year, I just haven't really thought about like Power World, and I just didn't really. It's not like it doesn't really excel in any of these directions in terms of these awards.
No, but I was thinking about like what I actually like watching. Like I liked about it, and I keep thinking like amazingly some of it is like I'm thinking more about it because it keeps popping up in the news because Nintendo stuff, right? That's not what I think about though. As I think about like the way that the stuff that the animals, the pals do in the real world, like their abilities and stuff. I think that's kind of interesting. I know. It's basically just, you're talking about animals with abilities and stuff. It's like, yeah, but like the way it's packaged, I think is interesting more so than any other game that I've seen. So it makes me think. I don't know if I would actually put it in most innovative gameplay award, but there's nowhere else for it to go, and I want to at least mention it.
I think my issue with Power World is it's kind of like a Trojan horse game where you see it and you go, it's Pokemon with guns, and then you play it and it's like, it's kind of a bog standard survival crafting game.
Yeah.
But I do think genuinely there is like some interesting mechanics in Palworld when it comes to like managing your factories and workers,
Well,
and
very interesting.
the way that your like pals and your pal spheres interact with the world. Like there is some interesting design in there, but it is like, it reminds me of like Marvel Rivals, where I'm like, I saw where you copied this homework from, you know?
Oh yeah, sure. But I feel like if you copied lots of stuff into one, it's like, oh, you put the effort to try and make it work together, and I do feel like it works together. I mean, the bosses don't work, but I think a lot of the other stuff, getting like trying to find stuff around the world to then bring back for your colony, and like I think that does work, and I think that's a really like, I think a lot of survival stuff. I think Valheim kind of somewhat solves it, but like has other issues I have with the game, where it's like forcing you, quote unquote, forcing you to explore. Like I feel like this is a better way to do it.
Next up we have...
that's my square peg in a round hole.
Next up we have Outstanding Visual Style Award. Visual style doesn't aspire to real-world graphical fidelity, though a noble goal in itself. It describes a distinctive look and a feel that survives an entire game. Did you nominate something for this?
I did.
Okay.
I had.
Oh, you're gonna reveal it?
Do you want me to go, or do you want to go first?
Oh, you go. I have no idea what you would put for this. Honestly,
I watched a video. Ace, isn't that the name of the channel is called Ace Roller? I would very much recommend, if you're into like knowing like how certain graphics stuff is made. Like he's thinking on how to like run graphics effects on processors or GPU, sorry, on and he went through and like explained how Persona 3 Reload did its like UI, and it's absolutely insane what they did.
Right. I've been good. Like, have you seen the Metaphor fucking UI as well?
Yeah.
As
far as I can tell, it's based on a very similar thing, but with very different styles. But there's like very similar graphics and very code involved.
If you were like, Persona has an outstanding visual style, I 100% agree with you. I think Persona 3 Reload is such a fucking beautiful looking game, just in terms of like its themes. Like, it's one thing to say like every Persona game has its own color and it's just using, but like everything in Persona 3 is, but it is like blue is the entire theme of the game, in terms of like, it's not just like, oh, okay, make that blue. It's like everything is,
how do you animate it?
It's like water, and the actual like, you have like Makoto, the protagonist, like drowning as you go down the menu, and you have
this main menu,
you have like the actual like melancholy feel of blue. Like you have like Persona 5, for example, is red, and everything's like upbeat and in your face and like really out there. And like Persona 3 is like, I'm fucking depressed. Like it's like it's very different. And then like Metaphor, you have like what's it called? The Da Vinci's man. What is
Renaissance like
Renaissance, like Old English, that sort of style, right?
So I was thinking about, because like this could, because like they're similar ideas, but obviously very differently executed in terms of actual style and
you know what one of my issues was.
I was tempted to go Metaphor, but I chose Persona 3 over Metaphor. I thought it just looked more, I don't know, the style. I'm a big fan of when they go out of their way to make the UI look better, and I think Persona 3 is that.
Yeah, so I also agree that I think Persona 3 generally has a better style and visual style, in my opinion, than Metaphor. I think Metaphor is going to win because it was in Game Awards.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like the popular vote, whether it'll win the category, I'm not sure. I do think Metaphor has better like enemy designs. So the humans in Metaphor look fucking sick, whereas in Persona 3, the enemies are kind of, some of them are just straight up ported models from Persona 5 Royal. Like, they didn't really get too in depth in like the enemy designs in Persona 3. Like, I think I would actually say Metaphor has much more compelling like enemies.
Sure.
My issue, Tony, was that I couldn't nominate Persona 3 Reload for every single category. Like, I nominated for multiple categories, but I tried to not nominated for every category? Because I agree with you. Persona 3 Reload is a fucking visual style behemoth. But got something else to say?
No, I chose mine entirely on the UI, like nothing else, like anything else related. So I just thought that was outstanding.
I could talk about Persona 3 Reload's UI, like the gun shop in Persona 3 Reload, where you go down this menu, and it's like a revolver that goes around the clip.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
Like we've gone to a point in modern, like Western stuff, like everything's like unified into one look, and it's like I hate it so much.
But it's like the thing I love about Atlas games is it's like they have like really cool, unique UIs. And with a lot of indie games, you go into them and it's like you need to walk forward and like you have to throw a dart at this and then you can select to change the volume slider. I'm like, this is so confusing and annoying. The thing about Atlas games is their menus and UIs are always so unique, but also so fucking usable and easy to navigate. It's like insane how they like balance that line so effortlessly. Well, it's definitely not effortlessly, but they make it look effortlessly, right?
Yeah,
because they've said like it's
effortless for the user.
They've literally said we're so happy people love the UI designs in our games because it takes us fucking forever to do them. Like they're so hard to make.
They're putting it like over the top of the game, like extra rendering pipeline stuff.
So
it's
Tony,
absolutely insane what they're doing.
I don't know how serious you're taking the Steam Awards this year, but I put in I've nominated Sonic All-Star Racing Transform before in different categories. This year, I went with 5 Hearts Under One Roof for the most visually outstanding game. I think these 5 Korean women are 5 of the most visually stunning character models I've seen in a in a video game. I just can't believe that Ming Young and Gran and Kumbi are real. I can't believe they're actually modeled on real characters.
It is an insane idea that they exist in real life.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense. I think maybe a little bit memey, but I feel like it's still somewhat justified. Like you could argue that making like a visual novel dating thing work with the FMV stuff. Like I feel like you could argue that's the style, but with also like what they're actually like who they're showing, the models they're showing.
I think for me, like runners up to this would be Hellblade and Animal Well are 2 strong contenders here as well. For me personally, like I think obviously Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor, we've already talked about those, but other games that I've played this year, Another Crab's Treasure is also a really good looking game as well in its own. Like I do love that style. But I would say
it's
like
interesting style.
Those are some I would like to consider as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better with Friends award, Tony. You don't have any friends is the problem. Unfortunately.
No, but I have put something down.
Oh, okay, you've put something down.
We'll see. We'll see.
So there are some games out there that just aren't the same when you play by yourself. Maybe you need to have a friend to watch your back. Yeah. Unfortunately, Uno came out in 2017, so
damn.
Maybe you need to have a friend to watch your back. Maybe you need to have a friend that you can stab in the back. Either way, fun is awaiting those who gather friends together to play this game. I'm trying to think what you would put. Is this is it a game you've played, or is it something?
No. I've watched a lot of people play though. It's what I've said before. Like I always is fun to watch people play.
Do you want to guess what I went with?
It's not Marvel Rivals.
It can't be because Marvel Rivals came out after the Steam Awards, so it's eligible for the Steam Awards 2025. Remind me.
I mean, if you forget about the game, then I can't help you.
That's true.
This is
best game I forgot about Marvel Rivals.
Multiplayer.
So for this category, I went with Helldivers 2.
Okay.
Better with Friends Awards is essentially the multiplayer co-op, best multiplayer.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I like Helldivers 2 a lot, but I don't love Helldivers 2. I will say that.
Really?
Yeah. It's not... I do love the experience I've had on Helldivers 2 of like role-playing like super liberal space humans, killing my friends with drop pods and blowing them up constantly. I love...
Military democratic.
Yeah. Destroying loads of bugs. My issue with Helldivers 2 in terms of like longevity, like I've played like at least like 20, 30 hours of Helldivers 2. Like I've played, I would consider like quite a bit of it in terms of like general gaming in multiplayer this year. My issue with it is I'm not a big fan of wave defense things. There is like objectives you move towards, but when it comes
then you have to sit down.
I'm not generally a big like horde guy. Like when it comes to that sort of stuff, like my favorite games of hordes in it is Left 4 Dead, and that is a game that is very much like you are constantly moving and there's stuff happening. You're constantly go.
You're not defending an area against them.
My problem is towards like the end of Helldivers 2, I kind of was like, I felt like, people had started to optimize the fun out of stuff, and then I was like,
that's a problem.
I was much more like, I enjoyed like the role playing and the actual just being like, oh shit, there's a bug over here, let me try and blow it up. And it's like, well, actually you need this gun with this attachment with this stratagem, and then you can kill it very easily. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It makes the bugs less scary.
It feels like I'm giving an award to Helldivers 2 by telling you why I don't like Helldivers 2 as much as I have other games.
Why it could be great but isn't.
I think my issue is I just haven't... My only problem... So if this award was better... If this award is better with Friends Awards, Tony, it's definitely Helldivers 2. If this award is best multiplayer game of the year, I would put Deadlock. My issue is I prefer Deadlock without my friends, because I fucking hate them when I play Deadlock with them, because it's a fucking MOBA.
Yeah. Okay. Well, funny enough, that I also play Helldivers 2 on. It's like I don't have friends and I don't play multiplayer games. This is like one of the games like, oh, I might actually pick this up.
Yeah,
like
I mean, for what it is, like if you can get a group of friends together and play it, like it's fun. Like a couple of sessions of Helldivers 2 is really fun. I just
I play it less often than like, because you say you play like how many hours, like I'd probably put like half the amount of time in,
right?
So I guess I wouldn't. I guess it depends on the friends as well, I suppose. How you play it. No, I just like I've enjoyed watching people play it, and I do actually quite like defending a place from hordes. Like something about that like I enjoy. Maybe it's cathartic. Maybe it's, I don't know, just thinking about like how to defend it. But I don't know. I like hordes impress me. Maybe it shouldn't, but just the bugs. The look of like thousands of hundreds of bugs.
The game's bug free. It's got no bugs. Come on.
Bug free. Well, you would hope. You hope democracy is bug free.
So yeah, like Deadlock is a game that I would put if there was like
dedicated multiplayer.
Yeah, but they're like there's other games I've played that have multiplayer, but just aren't up to the standard of Helldivers 2, even though I personally am not in love with Helldivers 2. It's like, because I've played games like Chain Together, Feather Party, Supermarket Together, Fast Penguin, which is like a Fall Guys thing. There's like the Multiverses re-release that came out that I wasn't in love with. Like, there's stuff that's come out on Steam that I'm like, yeah, this is a fine multiplayer game, but it's just not something I'm in love with, and it's nowhere near up to the quality of Helldivers 2, which is why I went for it for this award.
Yeah,
don't think it. I mean, but I think was Liar's Bar eligible? Liar's Bar is a cool game, but I think it would last less time than Helldivers 2 in my retention for the game of being like, yeah, that was really fun the first couple of times, and then I'm like, okay, let's play something else. I don't know. I feel
that is an issue, isn't it? Like these experiences, like if you just see it as like, oh, it's a good for X amount of hours, and it's one thing. But like, if it's multiplayer, almost wants to be able to last longer. My
issue with multiplayer games these days is my retentions for games is like, because I've played a lot of fucking games. I've been a gamer my entire life, and I strive for games like Animal Well, when I'm like, I want to find the game that is so interesting that I just, dump so much time into it and I'm in love with it. When I play a multiplayer game that is like, do this mission, go to point A to point B, do this for 100 times over 100 hours, I'm like, after like 20, I get it. But sometimes I have friends who are like, oh, this is still really fun. I just like the act of grinding this one mission over and over and over
it's
again.
still fun for them to do that thing where it's for you want to move on.
The reason I have 100 hours in Deadlock is Deadlock's item system is so fucking interesting. There is so many different ways to build your character, and it's genuinely really interesting to change. The game completely changes based on your character, the enemy character, how they play, how they CS, what items they build, what items you build. Like, that's why I would put so much time into a game like Deadlock.
So you're saying Helldivers 2 with like more items that later change how you play would massively improve Helldivers?
Yeah, but you want like in Deadlock, you start the game and you kill souls, and then you can like change things on the fly. Helldivers 2 has like different stratagems, but it's like, oh, you've got to grind. They have this sample
You're
system,
grinding to unlock it
so it's like,
account.
because like the system is like you need common samples, but you need rare samples, and then you need like super rare samples, and these super rare samples only spawn on this one super hard mission. So I have to basically keep grinding a bunch of like low level missions in order to get a bunch of samples, and then I can actually buy the new upgrade and stratagem and stuff that I want to actually try out.
Yeah. So I don't mind the grinders, but I think I feel like I'm in the middle between like how
I think the issue I have with Helldivers 2 is it's a ethical live service game, and I think that it's propped up more by like the role playing and like the actual quality of the game, but it is still very much at its core a live service game that wants you to keep playing and grinding it, and that's not something I want to do.
No. But it's still one of the best ones. It's one that I kept looking back on. I actually might. If people still play, I might pick it up.
It's lucky Marvel Rivals only came out a couple of days ago. I mean, Helldivers 2 is quaking in its boots, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of any other game that I've played off Steam that's multiplayer. Like, I play Hearthstone Battleground Seasons. And
does that bear with friends?
Yeah, I actually genuinely enjoy it. Like, I would love to play Fortnite or like Hearthstone Battlegrounds with friends, but everyone refuses to play those games, so I can't play them with friends. I was thinking of something. Oh, Buckshot Roulette got a multiplayer update, and it looks like Liar's Bar, where it would be really like, I love Buckshot Roulette, and I think it would be fun to play multiplayer, but I would just have to convince people to buy it and then be like, look, we're going to play this a couple of times and it's going to be really funny. And then after that point, we're never going to want to play it again. But I feel like that with like multiplayer games, with like multiplayer games, it's like we're going to buy this and play this a couple of times, or it's a live service game, and there's just not much in between.
No, but I'm okay. I feel like I'm okay with it just being like you're going to play it a couple of times. Like, I feel like that's almost the way
I'm also okay with that, but then we live in this capitalist society with monetary value.
Yeah.
You have to tell somebody, look, you're going to spend money, and then you're never going to want to play this game again. And it's just like that feels kind of bad.
I think you explain like it's like a cinema ticket or like a or something like a park ticket. It's like you're not going to get that back. Like, you can't do it again unless you buy it again. Just treat it like a couple of hours, a couple of pounds.
Right. Should we move on to the next category?
Yeah. Let's move on to the next awkward category.
So that's Tony. It's finally a year where me and you both own Steam Decks. So I'm really hoping you nominated something here.
I did nominate something, but not something I played.
Okay. This game was so good you wanted to take it everywhere, so you grabbed your Steam Deck and did, luckily, everything that made it endlessly playable at your desk got even better on the go. Do you want to take a guess what I put here? I think it's pretty obvious.
It might be, but I can't remember. I feel like it'd be obvious once you tell me, but I can't think of it right now.
Okay, so my best game on Steam Deck award goes to Balatro. I literally, I think when we get our Steam year-end review thing that comes out, I think you're going to see just how much Balatro I play on my Steam Deck.
Right.
Balatro came out the weekend I went away to a stag do, and I took my Steam Deck along with me, and I was whenever I had like downtime in the hotel, I was just I play Balatro in hotel rooms. I play Balatro when I'm waiting at the dentist. I play Balatro on a plane thousands of miles up in the sky. Like I'm always playing Balatro on my Steam Deck. It's so perfect for that form factor as well.
Oh yeah.
Also, because like people are like who just had mobiles were like, well, maybe we can nominate a mobile game. Balatro's on mobile. Like I think Balatro has a good chance of being best game on Steam Deck award here.
Oh yeah. I think it might. I think it might win that. So you don't have a Steam Deck, you would think about it and go, "Oh, I know Balatro."
I'm trying to look at my games list now. Like if any game would also be really good on Steam Deck. Nothing else really. Like obviously, Persona 3 Reload, I think could be a game that would be really good on deck. I think JRPGs are kind of like if you're going away somewhere for a long time and you have like historically, if you had like a Game Boy or a DS with you and you could play those like long JRPG games, that would be like the shit. Like I feel like JRPGs can be suited to like the handheld format. I just had Persona 3 Reload on Game Pass, and then also I'm playing Metaphor on my PC. Like I can play it on Steam Deck, but I don't really plan on going away for a long time. Like, but I could definitely see myself being like, I'm going to go somewhere for like a week that doesn't have internet. Let me bring my Steam Deck and just fucking blast through Persona 5 or something like that. Or just play Metaphor if I haven't finished it,
Yeah.
What did you put here for best game on Steam Deck?
So because I've not played games that came out this year, I was like, okay. So I had a different strategy.
Okay, go on.
I chose games like, okay, this is a game that would be great on the Steam Deck, but whether or not it actually works well on it, I cannot necessarily tell you.
Which game is it?
Man. I was umming and ahhing because, okay, there's a Ubisoft game and there's a game that came out of early access with my two choices. I'm still umming and ahhing now, I'm going to be honest with you.
Is the Ubisoft game the Rogue Prince or is it the Lost Crown?
Which one? Which one's which? Hold on.
Is it the Dead Cells one?
I think it's the Dead Cells one.
Okay, so the Dead Cells one runs natively on PC, so it doesn't actually have the Ubisoft Connect launcher. So I would hazard a guess that it runs perfectly on Steam Deck.
Okay. The other one is that I've also not checked. I've played a bit.
Metroidvanias are very good on Steam Deck. Based on playing some others like.
But then I was thinking about it. So there's another game that was been early access that I played a bit of before was so my two choices between that and V Rising. And I was like, I'm still a bit on top of that, which one I would actually choose. But you'd have to. The problem is that you would have to like deliberately go away to really set up to be offline mode, which is a bit of a pain.
Wait, sorry, what was the game you picked?
A V Rising was my other choice between the two that I've.
Did V Rising come out this year? It came out of early access, did it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Came out 8th of May, 2024.
Okay.
It's Final 1.0. I say final.
Yeah, I don't know because I've played V Rising. I've played it on mouse and keyboard. I'm not sure how. Like, I'm guessing the combat would probably be fun on a controller. I'm just thinking about like the base building stuff might be like weird on a controller. But then you do have trackpads.
Yeah, that's when I'd find that I'm not too sure about. But
let's have a look at the verification.
It
is
only
playable. Okay, but what does Proton DB see? Let's have a look.
I'm honest, I just go, is it playable? I'll try it, and it normally works. So I think I've had more problems with well, maybe not more problems, but like expectation problems with like verified ones. Was like, oh, I expect it to work perfectly, and it doesn't.
People are saying runs great are about 45 to 50 FPS.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I don't know. I think I'm going to put V Rising. I think I've done it before because it was in early access before, but I've actually played it, so I feel more confident. But yeah, I don't know how the base building will work. I've not actually tried this. Maybe I'll go back and and put on my scenes out later this week or so.
Yeah, don't tell me this, because I think for the Game of the Year's award, where we select our best games we played in the year, I want you to think about the best game that came out in any year that you played on your Steam Deck this year, because I'm going to have one as well.
Oh yeah, cool.
I think we're going to try and do some, like, every time we do the podcast awards, I always say, I really want to talk about this game, but it's not the best game of the year, and it's not the best multiplayer game of the year. It's not the best DLC. But like, why don't we just make up categories just as an excuse to talk about games? And I think the best Steam Deck game is probably a great category in order to talk about some of our favorite games we've been playing on our decks.
I don't even think we should arbitrarily choose a number. Like, just choose however number that we think deserve it. That's kind of my opinion. Like, why are we doing arbitrary category these arbitrary numbers? I mean, it's meaningless.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next award? Because this one, you definitely probably have more knowledge on, like, the longevity of, like, one of the games you play. Because any game could be. Any game can be nominated for this as long as it hasn't been released in the past year. I don't know if you knew that specific thing. So if a game like V Rising, for example, would not be eligible because it's come out in the past year. It has to have been out for over a year's period of time. So the Labour of Love Award, this game has been out for a while. The team is well past the debut of their creative baby, but being this good parent they are, the devs continue to nurture and support their creation. This game to this day is still getting new content after all these years. If I was going to guess what you would put, I think it would be a Paradox game, potentially. Am I up the ballpark?
I was, yeah.
Is it Stellaris?
It is. I think, okay, I think it is definitely Stellaris. I've written down Stellaris, but I was just thinking, like, but it's like, you know what? This year, I've complained massively about Stellaris like the last couple of years. I think this year they brought it back. I think there's still some weird stuff, but yeah, I think they put effort in to try and make it fun again. I have to give them props for that, and it is. Like, you can role play as, like, Mechanicus much better than ever before. Like, you can just role play as like holy machine people. Like, it's just much more play styles that work again, and that feels nice. So I think I will have to give them, and they're still supporting it. They still talk about it. It doesn't look like they're slowing down. So this year they didn't mess up. They
did you have any runners up? Like, you sounded like you.
I have runners up that I couldn't vote for. Because I personally think how Coffee Stain have been doing was satisfactory. Like,
so
phenomenal.
Satisfactory
like, the way they've been
came out
talking to it.
So you didn't think it was worth nominating for another award, or
I
given
would
the fact
have,
it
if there's
came
a
out
category that
year?
made sense.
So you don't think
category that made sense? I would have done.
Okay, interesting. I had two games that I was very sure that I wanted to go with, and I ultimately chose the one that I have been playing the most recently, and that is Power Wash Simulator. I think Power Wash Simulator has been getting a lot of support ever since it came out. Not only does it get free updates, but it gets free DLCs. I know it's more of a more recent game because it came out in 2022, but the other game I was also thinking of was Vampire Survivors, which is another game that is more recent but still receives a lot of support, and I think is very much loved because of another game that came out in 2022. But I think both of these games I would be very happy to be like, look, the developers of these games clearly really love this game and continue to support them to this day. And I think that is the true spirit of the Labour of Love Award.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think new stuff that people like, I think, that should count.
So I think I would be happy with either of these two, but I decided to go with Power Simulator, and I'll see. Because then we've got to do the Steam Awards again when we have to nominate based on other people's nominations if ours don't go
I'll
through.
be more angry then, but...
My fingers are crossed about 5... So when you nominate some of these awards, it tells you like what other people are nominating, because I know you didn't see the actual nomination process.
No, I didn't see what these
and it says like these games are popular being nominated in case you're like, oh, what kind of games would I put here? I can tell you now, I definitely saw a lot of Metaphor and
oh really?
5 Hearts Under One Roof. I think was one of the popular ones for Outstanding Story Rich Game Award. So potentially we can get 5 Hearts Under One Roof in there. My fingers are crossed. It's a fantastic game. Definitely, very popular on Twitch and social media and stuff. So hopefully, fingers crossed. So we skipped the VR Game of the Year award. I honestly have not played a single VR game this year. And out of the bunch that were available, one was a Quest exclusive, and one was a VR port of Trombone Champ that I had not played. So I did not feel
so obviously that one won.
Yeah, I did not feel comfortable nominating a VR game when I legit haven't played a single VR game this year. I like the option to skip things because I think people feel obligated to nominate stuff, and I think that's when it becomes issues of people going, I don't know a game that's good, or I haven't played one. Let me just nominate something so I can get like Steam trading cards. Yeah. Good to have a skip option.
Yep, 100%.
So let's move on to the Game of the Year award. Maybe it was immense gameplay or its gripping story, well-crafted characters, immaculate design, addictive multiplayer. Whatever the reason is, the winner of this year's Game of the Year award is an instant classic. Do you know what I put for this one?
I thought from what you've put before, what's missing?
On my let's just say, like, on my personal Games of the Year list, I have 3 games in contention right now. I have I have one that I'm fairly sure is going to win though. Like I think, but I still have to play some of the other game, and the other game I'm obsessed with this game, but we'll have to see whether that's obsession or it's just an insanely well designed game.
Right.
I'll put you to rest. I will tell you my Steam Award Game of the Year is Persona 3 Reload. I can't think of a game that is more well designed while also like just destroying me in terms of like having such well designed characters that I personally relate to, and then basically punching you in the gut and making me just feel complete despair when I realize the game is over and that's all getting ripped away from me. Absolutely phenomenal game. A game that made me feel something this year in the year of our Lord 2024. I think Persona 3 Reload is a genuinely, truly great gaming experience, and I think everyone should give it a try. It is my personal game of the year right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you nominate something for the Game of the Year?
I did, but it's another like square peg round hole problem.
Right.
I think technically I don't actually have a selection, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. But it's just know that I wouldn't probably put this in this category.
Right.
But I do want to call out Space Marine 2.
Okay.
I think it's a solid 8 out of 10. Would you like? That's not good, yeah? No. But I think it's a solid 8 out of 10.
We need to talk about like more 7 out of 10s, like 8 out of 10 games.
Yeah.
It's just like it's an above average game, but it's not the best game.
Well, yeah.
Like Nintendo World Championship.
I think the gameplay and story
are
average.
Sorry, I'm tangerining.
I mean, 7 out of 10. Okay, 7 out of 10 story in my opinion, from what I've seen. 8 out of 10 gameplay. You probably just going to go, oh no, it's like boring. Like fine. But I think the fact that it realizes like some of these creatures.
I actually don't know much about space. I love Space Marine 1, and I have not played Space Marine 2.
Yeah. I think someone saying like this in terms of story beats is like very similar to Space Marine 1, because it seems like that's just how Warhammer 40k tells its stories, especially with the Ultramarines.
Right.
But no, it's just like I think I think in terms of visuals, like in terms of the theme, like it accurately portrays the world, and I think that's why I'm giving. And I know that you go, well, surely that should be outstanding visuals. Like, yeah, but then that would mean I wouldn't talk about Persona 3. So I think this is more of a general, like a more overall general thing. It's like I think it pulls like some parts of it like a very 7 out of 10s, but I think it together as a package is more than its parts.
I think if you were like this is outstanding visuals, like I think that's perfectly reasonable in my opinion. I think like outside of art being subjective and like being up to the individual part, like anytime I say like I personally connected on a deep level with Persona 3 Reload, that's just my lived experience. That's what I like about games. Sure. That's what I like about that universe and that world. If you disagree with me and you think something else is cool, that's awesome. Like I think the biggest problem I have is that people sometimes are like, I like this, but I shouldn't like it. And I'm like, if you like something, like it. Please go ahead, go crazy. Like, don't try and hide like things about yourself based on what you think other people will think.
But one thing I will say is, like, I think when it comes to awards, and especially like what we're doing here, like, I think being able to justify myself, I think is important. I just feel like this is more like I don't think this wins the visual thing because I think Persona 3 has the great UI, and I think that the UI should win. I think this is like more visuals combined with well-realized world, like combined together makes it like more of a maybe not game of the year, but like it's the closest that these categories have for what I would call it.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to because like a lot of these games we talk about, I think like most of them will not actually be like I think the one game I have hope for, like I don't think anyone else is going to be talking about like stuff like Persona 3 Reload or some of the other stuff I've nominated, but I hope Metaphor gets talked about more because I think it is like I think the issue is like a lot of people go, oh, Persona, that's about like a Japanese high school. I'm not interested in that. I'm not going to get into that. But then the cool thing about like Metaphor is people went, oh, it's like a fantasy thing where I can fight dragons. So it appeals to Atlas fans. It appeals to like people who are into fantasy. And then I think it also just appeals to people in general. And I think it's like a good gateway into like Atlas games. And then people go, oh, wait a minute, why is this like a really good story and well-written characters and great UI and, you know, stuff like that. And like, I hope like Metaphor is a good Trojan horse to get people to try more games. That's my hope for this. Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah. That'd be great.
But yeah, Warhammer 2. You were alluding that I would disagree with you. I have not played Space Marine 2. I think that this potentially could be a great game. I've not played it. I don't know much about Space Marine 2.
The biggest criticism I've had is like based on like story and like certain loadouts and like weapons and like stuff not making it, or being really boring or like not viable. And so there's a limited number of play styles and things. That was like the biggest criticism the game had. So, but yeah.
Well, it's multiplayer. Could be on the Better with Friends award, you know? I've heard generally people have been saying like this game is like a lot better playing it with other people.
Yeah.
Like it hides some of the flaws sort of thing.
Yeah. It would be really cool to roleplay like kind of like Helldivers, right? If you're into that thing.
For the Empire.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like Helldivers 2 and Helldivers and Warhammer fans are kind of similar in like their roleplay. Unless you're like a Nurgle fan or something, I don't know.
I suppose if you're into Chaos, you wouldn't really care about Helldivers. I suppose.
No, you wouldn't be into that Cup of Liberty that the Helldivers.
you wouldn't be like, oh, can I play as the bugs?
You have to be a big fan of the Emperor if you need to get along with those Helldiver fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the end of the Steam Awards, the end of the podcast. Anything you want to say about? So you've had disagreements about the Steam Awards. I don't think there was any award that I thought was too egregious this year. I think when you break them down and think more about what they're trying to pull out of you, they are quite interesting awards.
I think there's only one, I guess, like left behind was like, oh, okay, like so, like now I've reformatted what games you suck at to like just fun why you failed award. I think that makes way more sense, and that's what I'm going to do going forward. And I think that is an idea worthy. My biggest problem actually is like missing categories. I honestly feel like there's not enough.
Yeah, there's definitely like some games that I played this year. I'm just looking at now. I'm like, oh, I'd love to talk about this more, but there's not a category in the Steam Awards that lets me talk about this.
That's what I felt like. I have like a small list, and it's like, well, is this good enough? Or, I was like, I'm going, is this good enough, or is it just because my categories are wrong? And then, again, I was like, when we do it properly, like what any game for any year we just played this year, I think I'm going to be able to like freely just like not have to care about the number, not care about the category. It's just going to be more freeing. I just need to like just justify my experience. That's all I need to do, which is what award shows should be like. That's one thing I get annoyed with award shows. Like, can we justify these, please?
Well, like, don't worry, guys. We'll be back for the next round of the Steam Awards, where Joe gets throws a fit when Persona 3 Reload loses Best Soundtrack Award to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Or something like that, you can check us out. Oh, wait, there's a Petermology tweet, I think, actually. Let me pull that out. I picked out a new one, fresh, for the ending of the podcast.
This is a fresh one, okay.
It's a fresh Petermology tweet. Anyone can make a 50-hour game. But who can make a 1-second game that can be played a million ways? Wow, there it is. I fear not the man who can make a 50-hour game, but a man who can make a 1-second game that can be played a million different ways. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. I fear not the man who's played a 10,000-hour video game, but I fear the man who's played a 1-hour video game 10,000 times. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Peter, there's room here to discuss time dilation. I have a dream once in which I experienced 20 years of life. Can we pack 50 hours of content into 1 second? How clearly does a player need to remember the events they participated in? You know what? A ghost, that is a great question. Based on your dream, we should go further into this.
I feel like 1 second is not enough time, maybe 1 minute, but sure.
Okay. You can check us out and Everything In Between Podcast, youtube.com at Everything In Between Podcast if you want to check out the VODs of Anything Podcast, Tangerine, Spotlight, twitch.tv/Scorn if you want to watch live, and shows.acast.com/everything-in-between-podcast. There'll be links to the Spotify and Apple podcast versions for the audio-only version, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.